everybody. This is What's Up for You. And so today we're kind of dedicated to some of the experiences and symptoms and, things that are just showing up in your worlds right now. And we'll kind of address those as best we can. We'll spend the next hour, 45 minutes to an hour doing that, depending on how much we have today. So before we start, however, we're going to start in the heart. So just kind of recentering ourselves and giving ourselves an opportunity to be right here, right now. So let's go ahead and just close our eyes for a second. And we'll breathe into that heart space. And as we breathe into that heart space, let's go ahead and exhale out and around us 360 degrees. So we create a little bit of a buffer for ourselves. I think especially right now, it's something that's really helpful. And then again, taking nice deep inhale and breathing right into the heart space. And exhaling that energy out 360 degrees, really solidifying your own space. And now we're going to add even a little bit more structure or stability to this space. So I'd like you to see a line that goes from right above your crown, right above your head, right down through the body and out into the earth. And I just want you to notice if that line is straight up and down, if it's kind of tilted forward, tilted back. Just notice what you notice, but command it to straight. We're literally straightening up that line within us. Let's say that multidimensional line, as above, so below. There we go. And then I want you to imagine that there's another line that goes from your outstretched arms. If your arms are outstretched hand right through the heart to outstretched hand. And again, we're just going to notice if this line is straight, bent, tilted, kinked, right? Just notice what's going on there. And this line really represents the dance between your masculine and feminine energy. So for the next hour anyway, we're going to command it to straight so that the information that we receive over this next hour is really being received by both sides of us. Yeah, both sides as one. And then one final line, we're going to imagine that there's a line that's out in front of us that comes right through the center of the heart and goes right out behind. Again, you're checking to see if this line is straight. This line represents our relationship with time, our past, our present, our future. And again, just notice what position it's in. And then we'll command it to straight. There we go. And then one last, we're going to take a nice deep inhale again, right into the center of the heart. And when we exhale, we're going to exhale out those lines of energy, out 360 degrees. Just nice and stable. Secure, stable, encapsulated in our own energy. There we go. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, you can just come back to the moment and we'll get started. So it's nice seeing some new names and it's great to see you guys. So while you're typing your questions into the chat, one of the things that I do want to say is that one of the symptoms that's been coming up, I've been hearing it over and over again through clients is exhaustion right now. So just people just wiped out. And we were actually just talking about this on the Journey Back to Love call. But one of the things that's happening right now is we have, well, it's happening all the time, but it's just happening at super warp speeds at this point. We've got energy that is trying to release from our multidimensional fields, and we have a lot of light frequencies coming in at the same time. And it's kind of like a super highway that's, you know, where we've got all of this debris coming up and out, especially up and out of our lower chakras, out of our lower imprinting. And then we also have all of this high frequency energy that's trying to flood back in almost as quick as the other stuff is moving out. And for a lot of us, especially if we have, kind of some physical patterning that has been with us for a very long time, a lot of time that energy is getting stuck right in those places. Like, so for me over the last few days, it's been headaches, neck tension, things like that. And so again, if this energy is leaving and coming at the same time, it's going to bottleneck at the place where we have these kind of recurrent, I'll say symptoms or conditions or that kind of thing. So one of the things that's happening is, in an effort to move that energy as quickly and efficiently as possibly, a lot of times we're just having to go to sleep, right? So it's almost like if every part of you, your biology, your psychology, your neurology, was all being rewritten, was all being undone and redone. It's kind of like having surgery, and you don't want to be awake for surgery. So a lot of people are just finding that it's just time to kind of settle in. Less is more, you know, do a little, sleep, take care of yourselves, nurture. But this is a complete rewrite. I mean, it's a complete rewrite. We're all being gifted with this opportunity to step into much higher frequencies of ourselves than we've ever been able to step into before. So yeah, just a little note on that. So.
Okay, so our first question is, I often feel that when I finally lose it, those around me seem to gain their ground. Would rather not do that.
I get that. And at the same time, a lot of times when we're in a position where we're starting to lose it, a lot of the time that's because we are, how do I want to say this? We've been holding it all together in a particular way. And a lot of times the people around us are used to the way we hold certain things together. Sometimes we're attempting to hold it together for them, right? But what's happening right now, again, is we're getting poked and poked and poked. We're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into some of our patterning. And a lot of our patterning, especially right now, has to do with feeling like we have to do it for others, feeling like we have to make sure that everybody else is okay. And a lot of times when we make sure that everybody else is okay, we've kind of negated ourselves. So that outburst, it's like I'm losing it, it's like I can't do it. A lot of times when we actually get to that point, it gives the people around us the opportunity to find their own way. It gives them the opportunity. It's almost like that response is like we're saying, listen, can't hold it together for you, and saying to ourselves, I can't hold it together for everybody else. My responsibility is to, my own what's going through me at that moment, right? My responsibility. And if I'm responsible for that, then a lot of times we won't get to the place where we have that outburst. But if we have the outburst, no problem whatsoever, because what it's doing is it's just resetting, like you were saying, it's just resetting everybody. And we can't play by the same rules anymore. We can't do that right now. We really, really have to give ourselves the opportunity to be present to what's arising within us and to be responsible for that. And everywhere where we feel like we're somehow responsible for everybody else, that's a time to step back and a little bit more care for self. Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so this question comes from Anya, and it says, what is the purpose of becoming even more super sensitive multidimensionally? What is the bigger picture of that? And thank you.
Well, one I will say is I'm not sure we can avoid it, Anya, even if we wanted to. So, so it is true. It's like we're not becoming less sensitive, we're becoming more sensitive. And the value of becoming more sensitive is that we have more awareness around what's in balance for us and what's out of balance for us. So as we increase that level of sensitivity, we're more aware, quite honestly. And when we're first coming into that greater sense of sensitivity, a lot of times that's not all that comfortable because we don't necessarily want to be aware of all the things that are in alignment and all of the things that are out of alignment. So I think that there's a place where I know, at least in my own life, where I had to make peace with my own sensitivity. And I also had to make peace with the fact that that was constantly increasing and enhancing. It wasn't diminishing. Yeah. And so there's something about really giving ourselves permission to value that sensitivity and what it allows us to become aware of that seems to kind of neutralize some of the edginess that goes with that sensitivity too. So I hope that's helpful.
Okay. This one comes from Jane. I have been having a lot of pain in my solar plexus right under my ribs, and it feels like an acid stomach, but I'm alkalinity, a lot of drinking water. So I question, what is acid? Could this be part of the upgrade symptoms?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and solar plexus across the board, solar plexus, sacral chakra, both right now are in a lot of people I'm seeing them, they're literally inflamed. And the other side I will say is whether you're in a male body or a female body, but even probably more, especially if you're in a female body, that power center has gone through all kinds of fluctuations, not just during this lifetime, but during multiple lifetimes as a soul. And so again, as the bigger picture is dismantling, that which no longer serves us is dismantling, we're starting to reclaim that power. And it's very literal. When we reclaim that power will start burning off all of the ways in which we were, we thought that we, had to hide that power, or we felt like we had to be smaller than we actually were. So my guess is, Jane, in your situation anyway, just tapping into it briefly energetically, it looks like you're literally burning off some of the old patterning of how power has been used in your life and or not used. And it's also looks like it has some to do with just the way you digest how you have perceived power outside of you. So like it is a burning off of the way power has been used or not used. It also has to do with the way you feel about or the way you digest other people's power, and that uh, what that means for you, right? And I think that we're all kind of collectively right now digesting or attempting to digest our own power. And also, we're noticing the way that power has, yeah, taken its toll. The misuse of power has taken its toll. So it looks like your solar plexus actually is kind of firing back up. So if we see it from that vantage point, then it'll probably move with a little bit more ease. But I don't see it as, I do see your gut as being fairly alkaline. So like you were saying, so I think it's a burning off process.
I listened to last week's energy integration call Monday night and this week's recording this morning, and I woke feeling a bit of nausea. Then the recording this morning lifted me to a great lightness and optimism, but I have gut discomfort that has grown as the day has progressed and is very uncomfortable right now, right at my navel level. Do you think this is a reaction like you began this call about?
Yes. And the other thing I will say, it kind of puts a couple of the different pieces of the conversation that we've already had together. So we talked about, our growing sensitivity. That sensitivity is helping us be very keyed into where we need to be, what we need to be doing, when we need to be doing it. It's naturally and organically kind of keying us into that. And as much as we like it or dislike it, if we tap into the collective right now, which it feels like you're doing as part of your question, is we know that there are uncertainties. We know that maybe through our lens, we would wish that people would be able to move through these times, not misusing power and not kind of retaliating. And yet, we also feel in our gut that some of that's going to happen, right? I'd like to say it's all going to be like rosy and beautiful and easy, but the fact is that anytime you're going through a transition of this magnitude, there's going to be a little bit of a push and pull to it. So what you might be noticing in your gut is that kind of queasy, uneasy feeling that you might wish that everybody could move through it fluidly, but there's a knowing that that's probably not going to quite be the case. So one of the things I would highly suggest for your solar plexus in particular is go back into your solar plexus, all of ours, we're going into that solar plexus and literally sit in your own power, sit in your own empowerment for a bit of time. Sit in the intention that you use that power and you use it intuitively in the moment that it is required. Yeah. And so in that way, we can start to really solidify our own power so that when we do need to empower somebody else, we can. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that queasiness, though, is definitely related to the collective unrest. So, yeah.
This one's from Anya. How come there is so much suicide and suicide tendencies in the collective right now?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that because we have been trained as a collective humanity to suppress different feelings. We've had, it's a pretty traumatic ride here on planet Earth, and there's all kind of conditioning that goes into that. Doesn't mean that there's not beautiful and lovely things as well, but quite honestly, we've been pretty conditioned to hide the parts of ourselves that probably need us the most, that need the most love. So we all have those aspects of ourselves. I don't know about you guys, but how many times have I said, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore, or oh my gosh, this is really challenging. Um, and I have the skill set to be present to those parts of myself. If you take somebody who's never been taught to be connected to the parts of themselves that are feeling hopeless or sad or overwhelmed, um, there's their recourse is to get out of the body by any means that they can. And so, especially right now, too, when we've got so much coming in, so many light frequencies coming in, we've got so many people have so much coming up and out so fast that some people just can't deal with the sheer volume of information. It's overwhelming them. And so it's more comfortable for them to exit the body than it is to try to negotiate all of that information all at the same time. So I always tell people that it's quite a blessing to be able to be present to yourself. It's quite a blessing to be able to maybe have not always felt so lovable. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of it.
Feeling buzzing throughout my body, electrical currents, and what it feels like, letting go of my tight grip and allowing configuration to happen on its own. Trusting the GD source, knowing all is happening as it is meant to be. Dealing with lots of changing inside. It is good, but feels like being in the ocean with the movement, equilibrium changing physically and emotionally.
Yeah, yeah. And, Lexington, these frequencies that have you've had access to, for your whole life, which a lot of people may or may not have access to. When those frequencies start getting grounded the way that they are capable of being grounded now, it literally feels like an electrical charge running through your body. And sometimes comfortable, sometimes uncomfortable, but just like electricity moves in waves, I think that feeling that you're getting, as far as that feeling of standing in the ocean and being moved around by that, it's the same kind of current. And I love what you said about, just assuming that it's all going the way it's supposed to go and allowing it to move through your body in the way that it does. Because sometimes, again, we all heard, what we resist persist, but especially when the refinement of frequencies that are running through your particular body are doing just that. One, there is that electricity, let's say, that electrical current is seeking a ground. It's seeking a way to ground within you. And for those of us who have, spent a lot of times kind of more up and out of our bodies, or aligned with, let's say, the higher frequency part of our being instead of the lower frequency part of our being. This particular piece that's happening right now is trying to find a ground through those lower frequencies. And so anything that helps to be present to, align with some of those, you could say lower chakras, although yours don't quite look like chakras to me, but that lower part of your body, some of those, and I know that you feel all kinds of different feelings, but actually moving into that instead of away from it also can have a really grounding effect there too. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah, thanks, Lexington.
Okay, this is weather being affected by new light frequencies?
The weather?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yes. And let's talk about that. The weather is affected by us. So those light frequencies moving in and out of the body and reconditioning the body to a higher frequency band, that energy, we literally are the creators of this world, I guess is the best way to say it. We create all kinds of different dimensions and realities and experiences on this planet. And so as those light frequencies come in and change and move us, and as we're having all this upheaval of old information that no longer serves us, then we have upheaval of the earth, we have upheaval of water and tides and different things like that. It's literally the collective energy going out and amplifying some of the weather patterning. So it's another reason why it's such a great grace to be able to be loving and kind and compassionate to different parts of ourselves that arise, because as we are that, we actually help to diminish some of that more chaotic kind of energy that's showing up as planetary weather patterns, upheavals of land and water and air, that kind of thing. Yeah, I noticed, I don't know if this has happened to you guys too before, but I noticed like there have been moments where maybe I got to a really deep place within myself, consciously or unconsciously. And on that day, it's cloudy, it's gray, it's raining, there's something just pouring through. Or, for instance, I was integrating a lot of energy one day. And at the end of that day, I was having vertigo, I was having all kinds of things go on. And within, about a minute of clearing the vertigo, we had an earthquake here in California, which was enough to feel. So again, let's not separate ourselves from nature, because we're one with it in a very literal way. Yeah, very literal way.
Okay, so this one, it says, as we move into these new energy patterns in the coming months, or maybe year, it seems to me it's going to be very important for me to know what I want. Mm-hmm. If I am not sure or very anchored in my energy, it may be a very rough ride through this transition. Do you agree?
I agree. And I would just suggest that we set intentions incrementally. So like today, this is the direction we're going. This is the intention that we're going toward, right? And then all of a sudden, and then the world is going to meet us in one way or another. It's going to respond to that intention. The minute we have some kind of feedback, then we might have to adapt a little bit. We might have to change just a little bit. So I guess I totally agree. And at the same time, I think adaptability is really going to be helpful. I also think that the opportunity to kind of navigate these times incrementally and not be rigid. A lot of people are breaking up their patterns of rigidity right now, and we've all had them, and we've had them because they've helped us to stay somewhat stable, in our lifetimes, or there's certain strategies that we've all used, but we just don't want to be rigid is, I guess, the most important piece. So fluid like a river. Yeah, set the intention, send something out, let it come back, and then try again, set it again, set it again. Yeah.
Okay, this one. It says the Pleiadians have predicted that on 12/21/2020 we will be experiencing a mass ascent to 5D. Not everyone that day, but many will and others will upgrade over the next weeks and months. Are you getting any sense of this?
I'm cautious to say that anything happens in mass like that. I mean, how many times have we heard or been told that, something would happen in mass like that? What I will say is that there is something really significant that we are building towards. I've been feeling it in all the different classes that I offer and those participants. I'm seeing it in the clients that I work with, this capacity to just be present here in a whole different frequency band than what we've been present here before. So, do I think that's going to happen to every single person on the planet at the same time on a particular day? I'm not sure about that. But what I do know is that we're all being invited to these upgrades. Some will upgrade through the body, with the body. Others will choose to leave the body and do it a different way, shift the frequency in a different way. So yeah, it's what I can tell you is I definitely feel a big buildup of energy between now and the end of the year. I can tell you that it's an invitation to everybody to whatever degree they can take that invitation. But will it look like a mass, like everybody's got, everybody's consciously aware of higher states of reality or in that moment? I'm not sure about that.
I am very grateful that there are a lot of dismantling of what does not serve that I am experiencing directly through my body and lots of insights. Good discernment about what to move toward in order to cultivate and possibly be able to serve. Issue assimilating the stability in order to learn to be able to hold energy and information to extend all of this joy and appreciation. Also some impatience to be able to move more quickly.
Yeah, we're all impatient. I tell you, it's like that's been the theme lately too, as far as, and let's just be easy on ourselves. I mean, first and foremost, before we're worrying about everybody else, let's first and foremost be easy on ourselves. What can we do and what can't we do in any given day, I think is really, really important. And equally important is not beating ourselves up for what we can or cannot do in any given day. We've all come knowing that we could be of support at this time to whatever degree, we want to or can be. And so I really feel like first back to us, what can we do and not do in any given day? And then we offer that out to all of those that cross our paths. And sometimes those are people who are physically crossing our paths. And other times it's just us sitting still for a second and being present with the energy that we've been graced with by the consciousness that we've been graced by, and just broadcasting that out from the body for anybody to receive it who can and will receive it. Yeah. So, and the patience thing, I mean, you're talking to me, you're hitting me right between the eyebrows with this one, because I spent my life, in some ways seeing things before, and kind of being privy in that way to that kind of information. But the moment you see something, then you want it, right? You already want it to be there. And so the more aware we become of what's possible, the closer we get to that place or that opportunity, the more that impatience naturally and organically kind of arises. Because I don't know, but in my world, sometimes that last little mile feels like it's like, 100 miles long. So, yeah.
Let's see. I also don't know exactly what I want in terms of career, etc. But I do know I want joy, community, love, etc. I'm setting the intention that God will lead me via inspiration and joy. Lead me. Do you have any other advice to facilitate integrating and fulfilling God's divine plan?
Align with it. just keep aligning with that. It's a beautiful, beautiful intention. And in all honesty, I mean, even when we say, I want this job or I want this opportunity next or whatever it is that we believe that we want, a lot of times, the broader part of us has other plans. The God self part of us, the God self that is us, has other plans. I mean, I never anticipated talking to you guys like this now, and I couldn't have like set my intention and say, hey, I think I want to be a multidimensional communicator and seer at some point in my life. It never would have even crossed my mind. And yet it's like that bigger part of self knows the direction that where we can be the most fulfilled. Yeah. So align with your most fulfilled destiny, align with what that source self has in mind for you, and especially do that now, because I'll tell you, things are moving so fast that you could be in one place today and be have a very different trajectory tomorrow. So let that part be fun. You don't know where you're going. We don't know. We just don't know right now.
Let's see. I have been contemplating a balance between two thought groups, one that focuses on shadow work and feeling into our shadows, and one that teaches not to give energy or focus to the thoughts that don't raise the frequency or feel good, more the law of attraction outlook. Do you have any thoughts on this, and how can they coexist, or maybe they don't?
Yeah, man, this is a great question. I fought with this one quite a while myself. And so I go back to things that are really practical. So the fact is, on any given day, there might be something up that really has our attention. There's a sadness, or there's an elation, or it could be anything. I mean, there's a energy that's right in our faces, and it's not going anywhere. So what I do know, at least from my own experience, is that in those situations, if I'm going to push against what's right there and not look at it, it's kind of like a little child that's pulling on my pant leg and mom, mom, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have time right now, I can't do it, right? Push that back. That gets louder and louder and louder, right? Those words become louder and louder and louder. And so I think that for me anyway, when stuff arises that is, I'm going to say, in the moment trigger, in the moment emotion, I'm most likely to just sit down and be present with that. It has a message for me. What does it want to share with me? And what I do know is the raising the frequency and the doing the shadow work, to me, at least in my world, they're one and the same. Because the very moment that I meet that part of myself that's triggered, and I meet her in a way that she's, quite frankly, wasn't met in the past, and it's probably why she has the trigger in the first place. The moment I meet her, my frequency goes up, right? I've neutralized that trigger, and then the frequency goes up. Yep. Of course, there's always days where we can, oh yeah, it's like I'm not going to brood on this, or I'm not asking anybody to, wallow in the depths of their shadow. But the fact is the shadow's coming up for a reason, and it's coming up massively right now, massively. So it's probably not a bad idea to just kind of say, okay, what is this? What message does it have for me? What does it want to share? What does it need? What does it need? And give it to it. Sometimes it just needs you to hear it. Sometimes it just needs your time and attention, and then it'll start to dissipate. Yeah. And I guarantee your frequency is up having done that. Yeah, for sure. Let me kind of take some of the themes that we've had today and kind of maybe wrap them up just a little bit, and also maybe just kind of tap in a little bit to the energetics that are present here today, see what wants to be shared. So one of the themes that I think that we didn't fully touch on that I think is worth touching on is nobody likes to not know. I'm the first to say that. It's like I see and hear for a reason. It's like I like to know. And even with those skill sets, we never really know. We don't know what's next. And humans as a race are not very comfortable with being in the unknown. And I think if nothing else, if we just give ourselves that opportunity and that permission to kind of, okay, I actually don't know what it's going to look like tomorrow, right? We don't know. We can assume that, okay, maybe this lockdown's happening or this requirement's happening. But equally, tomorrow, something could be broadcast across the TV that nobody knew was coming, right? So again, this capacity to almost practice being in the unknown, noticing where it is that we try to control what we don't have a clear awareness of, versus kind of giving ourselves the opportunity to step back into curiosity, right? Just because we don't know doesn't mean that we can't just stay open. We can't just stay curious to what might arise. There's something about that curiosity that allows us to navigate. It allows us to be more fluid. When we think we know, and we think we know where we're going, and we think that that's what it's supposed to be, and that's how it's supposed to be, there's a lot of rigidity around that. And what I will tell you about this energetic climate is it does require flexibility. It requires fluidity. Yeah. So let's play with that within the unknown. Yeah, we all remember it. We were all kids once, we were all children once. And if nothing else, we can invite those inner children to come back and say, come back up to the forefront and remind me of what it's like to be curious. Remind me of what it's like to be fearless, because we don't know what we're supposed to be afraid of yet, So beautiful. All right. Anything else, Sharon, before we call it a day?
That was very helpful.
Okay, cool. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, I hope that this was beneficial for everybody. And yeah, we do it a couple times a month, and we would love to have you back whenever you feel the desire or the need. And lots of love, everybody. Bye for now.